First of all, in terms of personal statements, what they are not simply a restatement of your resume. I think we get a lot of clients who will come in and say, hey, all I need you to do is look at my personal statement and we're good to go. It's really not a restatement of your resume. They have your resume in most cases. You don't have to talk about your resume. They can look at that. They want to see something different, and we'll talk about that shortly. It's not just a laundry list of your accomplishments, right? Many, depending on the school application, whether it's law school or business school, they will have a list of many of your kind of what have you done since school? What have you done outside of work? They'll ask you kind of for this, what's called like a short answer section. So they'll have that, and it's not just a restatement of your college admissions essay. Believe it or not, we have clients who kind of just take their college admissions, undergraduate admissions, and tweak it a little bit. Um, you know, it's not something where you go on the website and you're like, oh, this school talks a lot about this, so I'm just going to throw that in there in my personal statement and say that I want to do it. There's also, folks tend to go over the top with this sometimes and just, we've seen a rap, we've seen a fake legal brief for law school. We've seen a lot of interesting things, and it's not really about that. It's really about trying to be genuine, trying to bring who you are and what you want to be, and really talk about it in a genuine way. Not to say that you shouldn't be creative about that, but just to say that sometimes when you just try to be creative for the sake of being creative, and it doesn't really resonate who you are, that's not effective either. Um, it's not just kind of an optional essay or a place to just talk about, hey, I had some bad grades in school, but I want to do this. It's really more focused on who you are. And then finally, just stay away from, especially in this climate, controversial issues, um, too much talk about, politics, unless it's part of who you are and who you want to be. Um, and sometimes you try to be funny, but it doesn't go over well, and you don't know if it goes over well because you're not there when they read it. Personal statements are applicable to graduate schools, across that run the gambit, right? PhD programs, law school programs, general kind of specialized master's programs, MBA programs. While MBAs often don't have a specific personal statement, more and more of the MBA applications will have like an essay like HBS, or something that says, hey, tell me about yourself, or, what should we know about you, or what differentiates you. So when we talk about personal statements, we talk about the broad definition of personal statement, which is just kind of this whole, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me what makes you tick. So that's kind of how we define personal statements. It's really an opportunity for you to show the admissions committee who you are, right? What is your character? What is your personality? What do you bring to the table? And what are the unique attributes that you will bring the graduate school community? So it is truly an open letter to the admissions committee. And with that comes a lot of responsibilities. It is, frankly, in my opinion, more challenging to write than a very structured essay that asks you something very specific. It's an opportunity for you to demonstrate kind of personal growth and leadership. It's hard sometimes to articulate that in something like a resume. But it is a lot easier when you can provide context around stories and provide kind of that growth and leadership through stories in your particular background. It's a focused presentation of kind of why you are well suited for that particular school, right? So in addition to it being a story, a persuasive story about who you are and why you, or rather who you are, it's also a story about why that particular person is well suited for graduate school. So don't forget to kind of finish the job, if you will, and not only talk about who you are, what you've done, what makes you tick, but also why, kind of bring it back around to why you want to go to school and why you think you're going to be a good fit. It's a great opportunity for you to demonstrate your logical reasoning and persuasive skills. You may say logical reasoning, well, kind of how does that work? Well, I think you can demonstrate kind of your thought process of how you may have addressed particular situations in your background. And obviously, from a persuasive perspective, you're telling a story. So you want to tell a convincing story that ends with you getting into this school, right? And that story is really the essence of how you're going to sell yourself. But it's all about being authentic. It's all about knowing who you are and presenting who you are and being your authentic self. You want to be able to sell the dream, right? What do we mean by that? Obviously, you want to ground them in, your interest, your passion. You need to be able to paint a clear picture of that, though. One of the big challenges when you're writing essays is that, people say, well, one of the big challenges is they don't spend enough time thinking about the dream and talking about the dream and exactly what you want to do. The other challenge is you're not really painting a clear picture. And sometimes you're not doing it because you don't know, right? So it's not that you have to be right. You just have to paint a clear picture. So oftentimes what I'll do with clients is say, okay, what kinds of things might you want to do? Okay, great. Let's lay them out there. Let's see what makes the most sense. You're not sure if you'll do consulting or marketing, but you have a particular strength in one particular area, and perhaps going in the consulting direction makes more sense because it's more generalized, and ultimately moving into a company, where you're kind of on the track to be a CMO is the way to go, right? Or maybe it's another path. But whatever it is, think about that path. Think about how your background will help you get to where you want to go. For full-time MBA programs, they know that you may be making a career transition, and that's okay. But how do the things that you've done historically lead to your ability to execute in the future? So if you're a teacher today, you're a manager of 25, 30 people every day, every class. Talk about that management. Talk about the ability to lead up to your principal. Talk about your ability to motivate others when they don't necessarily have motivation, right? Use what you have. Talk about how you're going to get to where you want to go, and dream big. Business schools at the high end of the echelon don't want to hear that you want to, hey, I ultimately want to grow up and be someone who can be a contributor in an organization and work for someone who works for someone who works for someone who's important, right? That's not what business schools want. They want you to have confidence and say, you know what, I want to be that person. It doesn't have to be CEO, but maybe you're somebody who runs a particular division or has a particular focus at a very high level.
Admit Me. Never apply alone.